Sarah Connor is back for Terminator Dark Fate, and she's armed with all the latest weapons and 2 million sunblock. Terminator Dark Fate is directed by Tim Miller, and it stars Linda Hamilton, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mackenzie Davis, and Natalia Reyes. Now, Terminator Dark Fate is the story of a woman named Dani Ramos, and she finds herself under attack from a Terminator from the future, and now she has to survive with the help of Grace, a cybernetically enhanced woman, Sarah Connor, and a T-800 Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator. And that's as big of a synopsis as I'm going to give you. This movie was marketed to have you going into it vague. The trailers left it that way, and that's how I'm going to leave you. So this is a spoiler-free review, so let's get into the good of this movie. So the good of this movie is the story. It's been 28 years since we've actually had a cohesive Terminator storyline, and it's so refreshing. This movie really does work well off of Terminator 1 and 2 while going in its own unique direction in a way that I feel is very satisfying. I really enjoy what they did with this movie. The story in this movie just worked for me. You know, unlike the previous 3 installments, this story, again, is much more cohesive. It plays off of Terminator 1 and 2 so much better, and it is an enjoyable movie. Another good of this movie has to be Linda Hamilton. She does a fantastic job in this movie. Once again, we're seeing a slightly different Sarah Connor than we've seen in the past. Sarah Connor in the first Terminator movie, she was not the hardened soldier that she was in Terminator 2. Sarah Connor in Terminator Dark Fate is still the hardened soldier like she was in Terminator 2, but she also is far more cynical than she was in Terminator 2, and the movie really shows you what has happened to her in the past 25 years and what led her to the point where she is in fact so cynical. And to me, it really worked. I really loved her performance in this movie. I love what they did with Sarah Connor, how they took her in this movie. I really enjoyed it. In addition, Arnold Schwarzenegger is back as the Terminator. I don't think anyone can ever get bored seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger play the Terminator. I do have one little issue with his character that I will get into when I discuss the bad of this movie. But when it comes to Arnold Schwarzenegger's performance in this movie and also how he was written, the good does outweigh the bad. Just know that. But with that said, there is a lot of bad to unpack in this movie, so let's get into that. So the bad of this movie is definitely the new characters in this movie. To start off with, you have the character of Dani. Dani is supposed to be the most important character of this movie. She is the main character, and she is the least interesting character in this entire movie. As much as they tried to do with her, her presence on screen is just not all that captivating, and I really didn't appreciate that. I mean, there's moments like when she sees this Terminator for the first time, she should have this Sarah Connor from Terminator 2 reaction to this thing. I mean, just in shock, just unable to even comprehend the fear of the situation. Whereas in this movie, her reaction is, "Oh my gosh, that Terminator is trying to kill me. Are you the one that's going to help protect me?" I didn't like. And that's just her performance throughout this entire movie. Nothing about her really stands out that really earns her spot as the main character in this movie, and it just falls flat. In addition, the character of Grace is just obnoxiously bitter in this movie, and I thought for sure that they're going to be like, okay, here's a flashback to her past or an explanation for how she became so bitter. Nope. Never happens. You just have to accept the fact that she is obnoxiously bitter throughout the entire movie. The new evil Terminator in this movie is at the level of Terminator Rise of the Machines. It reminds me a lot of the evil Terminator in Terminator Rise of the Machines, in that he doesn't have an intimidating presence. He's overpowered. His powers really don't make much sense. You don't really get it, and they don't explain it all that well either in this movie. And I just didn't like him. I mean, the beauty of the Terminators, of the evil Terminators in Terminator 1 and Terminator 2, is that they have a terrifying presence. Every time they end up on screen, the main characters are terrified, as they should be, and you as an audience member are terrified as well. Does not happen with this character. Just falls flat for me. In addition, like I said, Arnold Schwarzenegger, I did like him. I really did like him in this movie. But there's just how the direction they decided to go with his character, just, I don't buy it. So basically the idea is that, and no spoilers, but basically the idea is that he has been living without a mission for 20 plus years, and because he's a learning computer, he develops into his own unique character. And the character he develops into, I just don't buy it. I mean, he's a machine, and the way they took him is just not something that I can actually resonate with. It just does not work for me. In addition, the second act of this movie really doesn't work. It slows down, and there's no foreseeable reason as to why it had to slow down, besides the fact that they had to write it a certain way. There's a million different ways they could have wrote the second act of this movie to really bring the pacing up and bring you back in the story, but you have to take a slight detour in the second act, and I just didn't enjoy it. So, you've heard the good, you've heard the bad. Let's get into what I think of this movie overall. So what did I think of Terminator Dark Fate? I was disappointed with this movie. I really was. Just the fact that you finally get James Cameron back as a producer, and you get Tim Miller in this movie. Linda Hamilton is coming back. I feel like there was quite a bit of wasted potential with this movie, and it's unfortunate. There is some high highs. I really did like Linda Hamilton in this movie. I think the story in this movie is interesting, but the issue with the new characters that were introduced into this movie, along with all the other problems in this movie, just really make it fall flat for me. There's nothing really to take away from this movie that's all that memorable. There is some fun to enjoy here, but for the most part, this movie is a bit rough. So I'm going to give Terminator Dark Fate a C. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. Please hit the notification bell. Also, I have a ranking video for all the other Terminator movies. I made that in anticipation for this movie. Go check that out. It's on my page. And I forgot to mention in that video, but I'd like to see your guys' rankings down in the comment section. I'm all curious as to what you guys think. Also, give me a reason why you put in certain Terminator movies over others. And also, check out my buddy Jeremy Laban's website, The Daily Rotation. I will have a link in my description for his review of this movie, Terminator Dark Fate. Did we see eye to eye with this movie? Did he like it more than I do? Did he hate it more than I do? Let's find out. And again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.